Hello everybody and welcome to another community fortress. This is the fortress of Spiderlancers, and now I have run into two issues with this fortress. Number one, I am completely incapable of finding it on the world map. Either I'm just living up to my username and my disabilities, or this fortress is invisible. If you can see it on this map, please let me know where it is, because I certainly can't. What we do know is that it was sent in by Numinor, and they point out two really cool things about this fortress. One, it has a semi-tame Hydra, and two, the king is a necromancer. So, let's dive in. If you would like to send in a fortress for me to have a look at on this series, you can do that via my Discord in the DF Save sharing room. So just simply jump into the Discord and go to the DF Save sharing room and then upload it to the file sharing service of your choice, the Dwarf Fortress File Depot, or of course, something like Google Drive, or alternatively directly to the Discord if you have Discord Nitro, which you usually do because they're generally bigger than 100 megabytes. If it's a heavily modded save, please include your mod folder in the zipped file, and I will do my best to make it run. I've had middling results in running modded forts. I've been able to get a couple of them to work, but not all of them. So if you do have mods, please include your mods folder. So this fortress is a member of the Torches of Twilight, and we can tell that much just by taking a peek at the front. And once we jump down to the fortress itself, you can clearly see that we do have a necromancer as well as many barons. Now this fortress just has some really interesting design ideas as well as some interesting things going on around the outside. So the first thing we can spot here is a little side door with a bunch of cage traps, very well placed and very intelligently placed. This is excellent for catching any kind of mega beast that shows up like dragons, or in this case, a Hydra. We also have this entryway that is covered in blood, as well as some food that is left outside. Of course, some delicious strawberry and white yam plant roasts, which, you know, maybe not so good these days, and a couple corpses, as well as a tavern up here on the surface, which I'm not sure the purpose of this meeting hall. It seems to be like a place where people go to bleed. Aside from that, though, once we zoom a little further down, we can see the central staircase, as well as a ramp set up. Now, I mentioned this in a previous video, that you do want a 3-wide ramp if you have the Monarch, or alternatively, a Baron in your fortress, because the Mountain Home is going to start sending wagons. Now, initially, they just send carts, which are single tile wide and can fit through doors and down normal stairs. However, wagons cannot. They can only take ramps down, so you'll actually see this ramp go all the way down and into the fort. They're also working on deconstructing this. I'm assuming to get these bodies out of here. Something else I would recommend doing with a moat design like this, while dry moats are quite effective and overhangs can stop them from climbing, you're still going to want to smooth these upper layers because it's not going to stop them from trying. So I would go around the edge of this and actually fill it in either with wall pieces, or alternatively for the stone layers, just simply smooth them from the inside. That'll remove any potential issues of things trying to climb. And I would also personally fill this bottom layer with spikes, but, you know, at that point, you live your life. We're going to scroll down and down and down and down, and then we can see the first kind of open layer. There is, of course, Knowledge of the Mountain Home, which is a Forgotten Beast parchment scroll next to a corpse here. We really need to worry on the body disposal. I realize that the king is a necromancer, but seriously, this is a little bit out of control. As we scroll further down, we can see the ramps continue and 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 continue, all the way down to here, where the trading depot is. But if we scroll back up to the fortress itself, we also will notice this over here. This is an interesting spot with some water dripping through. So where's this water coming from, you might ask? Well, let's find out. If we follow this stairway all the way back up to the surface layer, we can up here see that the water is coming from this little creek over here, this tiny little brook. Now, brooks are very shallow. Dwarves can walk across them, but if you channel into them, it does make them into full-size, like, drownable spots. So because there's nothing actually covering the surface up, I would recommend doing one of two things. Either A, cover these with floor pieces, or B, cover them with something. It's just something, because something could either fall in here and drown, or alternatively use this as an entryway into the fort. You do have these two drawbridges set up that are linked to a lever down below. However, there's nothing really stopping critters from just climbing into here. Something else you could do is stop the flow and then build fortifications around halfway through this, and that would stop things from being able to walk in once they got through that area. So you could have up to 2 more lines of defense here. This is just a little bit of a vulnerability that I thought I would point out. Let's scroll back down into the fortress itself, though. Now that we're in the fort, this is the part that I really, really like about this fort, and I think this is what really stands out. First off, this is a cavern fortress, which I really, really like, and it's got this really neat kind of 2 Z-level tall hallway style. I mean, it's pretty standard here. You know, we've got our various workshops and various different places for dwarves to live and work as they do. But it looks like they carved this upper layer out with all these bedrooms, and then if we drop down the layer, is another equally similar layer. So we've got these bedrooms that have stairs going up with these 2 doors on either side. It's a very neat design, and I don't think I've ever seen anything exactly like this before. I've seen similar ideas, but nothing identical to this. And then, of course, you can also build these little ramps up the sides and theoretically take them over, but they don't connect in the middle. And then over here we have a small prison that is filled with many dwarves in prison that are quite upset. A very ineffective hospital, and I say ineffective because while there is dead things in here, I gotta say that it is walled off, so something horrible happened here. And that's definitely the case. I mean, let's see, what direction does this go? Well, if we follow this little hallway down here, it does lead all the way down to these rocks and then out into the caverns themselves. A very quick way in. So either that is an emergency exit or potentially some sort of prison hospital for quarantine critters. It's hard to say, really. Just seems like a dark situation regardless. Then over here we do have a troll in a cage that was caught somehow. I'm not sure where that troll came from. Must just be some sort of prisoner. Perhaps this is where they are resurrecting the dead, perhaps, using the troll as a means of scaring the necromancers into doing their jobs. And then down here we just have some more unfinished rooms, as well as a few offices over here. Now, as we continue to scroll around, we'll notice that there is a library, as well as several different guild halls, as well as more bedrooms, and then possibly my favorite feature of this fortress, this bridge. This is why I love cavern forts, because you can build these really cool constructions just up and over things. It just looks so neat in practice. Then down here we have more bedrooms, as well as a very unfinished looking little library thing. And if we scroll down a few layers, there's actually a lava spout here, which they are using as a pretty epic looking metalsmith's workshop, where they are smelting all of their metals. They've got glass furnaces, they've got magma furnaces, as well as magma forges. Of course, all powered by these down at the bottom and an iron floodgate. Very well put together and very well designed. I'm a big fan, especially with this upper viewing platform. And now, if we kind of pan over, you'll notice that there is a farming layer just a little further down with more bedrooms connected to where that trade depot is, a nice seed stockpile as well. And then if we go across here, there's one of my favorite features of this fortress, which is the noble disposal area, featuring a very vicious creature, a Hydra, who, nonetheless, has 102 notable kills. And also worth noting, an additional 68 other kills. You needed to get one more other kill, I would say. That would be pretty nice. She is sometimes cruel, and she has a strong sense of duty. Like any good Hydra, I would say. Is owned by a dwarf who's, dead, which is why they are naked here. If we actually jump to their location, you can see that they, yeah, they definitely had a rough day. I'm not sure what happened there, but they definitely had a rough day. If we jump back down into the fortress itself, though, you'll notice that there are kind of bodies everywhere, actually. This fortress has definitely gone through some tough times, indeed. But what I will say is it is a really cool little fortress. I love this bridge design over here, and I really, really like this forge design here. I do think that there's a bunch of security vulnerabilities, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, security vulnerabilities are only a vulnerability if you consider them to be a vulnerability. Over here is the King's Tomb, as well as little routes into the King's space down here. So, you know, small place for the King to rest whenever the necromancy finally allows him to. As for the King themselves, they do have an axe assigned to them, the monarch. And if we jump over to the king or monarch themselves, let's see if we can learn a little bit about them. So the King Necromancer Kib is right here, moving around. Personality-wise, doesn't generally think before acting, doesn't handle stress well, and often acts with compassion. He doesn't try to get things done perfectly, and he has an active sense of humor, and occasionally overindulges. Dreams of ruling the world, and seems to be doing that. And he likes adderite, lead, and pineapple opal, my favorites. Clear glass and giant cave spider silk and beetle. And battle axes and barrels and earrings and animal traps and chimeras for their terrifying features. And the words of the cave of bravery and the sound of the lyric of bewilderment. And the sight of the incenses of velvet, and when possible prefers to consume sunberries, potato wine, and rice flour, and hates toads. A good king, I would think. One that dreams of bringing eternal life to their people. Of course, this is the king's space where they spend most of their time, down in this office with a bedroom and a dining room to look out over their small office. Oh, look, another life brought into this world to be removed once again. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more videos like this about interesting forts from the community or my friends, check out this YouTube channel. We have a growing playlist of them. And if you would like to see myself while I play video games on the internet, you can find me at twitch.tv/BLINDIRL. And if you would like to simply submit a fort, once again, the instructions are up at the top, but you can join the Discord, links in the description, and just jump over to the DF file save sharing room, and I'm sure you'll figure it out. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.